And folks, we are now live with the wonderful Lauren Witzke. Now, we're going to be with her for about 60 minutes or so, roughly. She's our wonderful guest today. So many of you have been talking about how delighted you are that she's with us today and how wonderful she is. And we agree. But we're going to, a few things first, just a few quick notes. If you have any questions or comments for Lauren, let me know, and we might be able to get to those. But there are going to be a few subjects that we are not going to be addressing in depth to any degree today, running on YouTube. And those topics are pedophilia and pedophiles, drag queens, gender transitioning. Not going to be talking about that. QAnon or Biden's election win, as well as COVID-19 and the COVID-19 immunization. We won't be talking in any detail about those things on YouTube, of course. Now, Lauren has a lot of thoughts on these and a great many other matters. And to find out her thoughts on these and other issues, you're going to go to her links that are going to be provided by her and in the live chat. She has a bunch of platforms and she's magnificent on Gab. She had a Gab yesterday that knocked me out. It was so fantastic. But Lauren, welcome to you. Thank you so much for appearing with us on Going Free. And would you please, I guess, just maybe give a short intro to the very few to none who don't know who you are, and then maybe also your links, and then we'll give you another opportunity to give your contact info at the end as well. Please, the stage is yours.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for having me on. So my name is Lauren Witzke. I ran for United States Senate in the state of Delaware. Can you hear me? Okay, in the state of Delaware in 2020. It was my first time running as, for anything. And prior to that, I worked in drug recovery. I worked for Trump's campaign out in Iowa, but I never ran for office. My first time running for office, I broke the Delaware record in most GOP Senate candidate votes. I ended up beating the establishment endorsed candidate in the primary. Not only did I just beat him, I just destroyed him.
Nice.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Nice.
So we did really great things. But, the interesting thing is I ran on an unapologetically America First platform. I ran on an immigration moratorium. I ran on restoring the nuclear family, incentivizing marriage and family. I ran on ending abortion. I ran on addressing the opioid epidemic, which is absolutely crippling our nation right now. I ran on entirely social issues. And we ended up, I walked into Election Day with 165,000 mail-in ballots for Chris Coons. I just couldn't beat that. There's no way I could take that on. However, we did break the record in most votes by 60,000 votes in Delaware history. So we were able to motivate a whole new base to come out and vote for us. So I'm hopeful about the future if we're able to get election reform. Right now, I'm the spokeswoman for Hold the Line PAC. We are dedicated to election reform. After I get election reform, which I will get election integrity restored into the United States. Unlike Ronna McDaniel, who is doing absolutely nothing but taking the money and putting it in a task force that is stocked with 12 never Trumpers who don't even believe that we need election integrity. So, I'm actually fighting for election integrity. I'll be down in Georgia in about 12 days to push through this election reform bill that we have through the Georgia Senate. So we are actually fighting. We are on the ground fighting for you. So, that's what I've been up to. But after I get election integrity, I'm going to use all my resources to get America First candidates in office. I'm going to punish the GOP establishment hacks who have betrayed you, who have turned their backs on you, who have disavowed you and left you behind. I'm going to make every single one of these Republican elected officials who feel like they're safe. I'm going to make them feel political pain, whether that's putting primaries against them and funding these primaries or running against them myself. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see. A lot's in store for the future. I'm optimistic about 2022. I'm about to really make the Republican Party know exactly who I am. I'm disappointed in them. They have let us down, and there's no excuse for it. We waited patiently. We sure did. We supported President Trump. We fought for President Trump, and we gave money. We were gracious enough to elect these people, and they did nothing for us. So, it's long past time that these people start being held accountable. And that's what I'm here to do. And that's what I'm going to do. And I am not sorry I'm going to do it, I'm not sorry. We need to stop being sorry, and we need to stop being bold, or start being bold and fearless, and hold our elected officials accountable. Some people are absolutely infatuated with the idea of the Republican Party. Oh no, you can't go after our own. Yes, you can. We have to go after our own, because we cannot continue to have more of the same, period.
Well, I would actually, first of all, I'm extremely impressed, and thank you for your determination. It is something that is rare, even in, sadly, I mean, it's very rare in white men today to find the determination, the courage, the tenacity, the drive for glory that you're demonstrating here, and your unwillingness to compromise, taking a position that is bold and willing to take on those who have name recognition or power, clout, or money, or whatever it might be in the Republican Party. And I would just point out that when these people who say to you that, well, you can't take on your own, these people are not our own. They have demonstrated, many of these individuals in the Republican Party, the hierarchy there, certainly the strategists for decades now, office holders for decades now, that they have hated America. They have hated the founding stock of this country. They have hated everything that, all of the values, the principles that have made this country great. And they will do anything they can to undermine and eviscerate all of that, and to their own enrichment, to their own betterment, to their own laudation by the anti-whites in their media, as though, I mean, obviously it seems to you, and let me pass the mic back to you, that you really don't care what the anti-white regime's media has to say about you. You are going to advance these America First principles, whether they hate you for it or not. And in fact, maybe because they hate you, you recognize that as a badge of honor.
Right. Well, if you're getting flack, you're over the target. Are you a Christian?
I was, and I am. If Jesus comes to me, I will go back. I'm open-minded.
White Christian males are the most persecuted people in this country right now. And it's sad that a majority of our elected officials are white Christian males, and they have sold you out to mass immigration, the LGBTQ lobby. There is so many ways that they have sold out the working class man. They have not addressed the opioid epidemic, which affects middle class white people. Working class whites, it's murdering. It's murder, basically. 70,000 people died the year before last, and last year it's like almost 100,000 due to the lockdowns. These people have done nothing for you. They try to tell you that voting for the lesser of two evils is what you have to do. It's either vote for this GOP establishment hack who's going to give you lip service, or vote for the radical left Democrat. They're all the same. They're absolutely the same. They will vote for the same destruction for the American citizens. I find it miraculous that President Trump lost 5% of the white working class vote in 2020 because he was, it seemed to be a demographic that he neglected, and he should not have neglected, and our elected officials continue to neglect them, and they pander to other interests. They release criminals from prison, but they're not addressing the issues of their base. We are the base of this party. We make up a majority of this party, and we have been left behind. And it's something that people need to start talking about. I know it's not, it's kind of controversial or whatever, but there's absolutely no reason for our elected officials to betray us. They spend more time on Fox News getting their hot takes, disavowing us, pandering to the left, compromising with the left, than they do actually addressing working class issues. And they deserve to feel pain for it. They deserve to have primaries, and they deserve to be punished. And that is what we have to do. I mean, we can only hold our own party accountable. We can't, Democrats, we will never have a say in their policy. We will never be able to influence the Democrats to do anything that we want. But we can get elected officials into office who will fight for us. We can stop sending the same old people to DC who are going to vote against your interests, who are going to open our borders wide open, and who are going to answer to their corporate donors. That is a problem. We have a very corrupt system that is rigged against us. And the only way we can fight back is by sending our people into office. And that's what we should do. That's what 2022 should be focused on, not business as usual. Vote for the candidate that is going to fight for you. Don't listen to President Trump's endorsements either, because his endorsements are compromised. Vote for the people, ask the hard questions, and make your own endorsements. Who am I going to send to DC who's going to fight for me? Not who makes the best video, like Dan Crenshaw with his cool Hollywood videos about Antifa, but then he caved to the mob. Yeah, he caved to the mob on Antifa, or caved to Antifa and took down our historical monuments because they were racist. But he made this really cool Hollywood video about, campaign video about fighting Antifa. He spent $1 million on. But when it came down to it, he opened up our borders, sold us out on red flag laws, and took down our historical monuments. No excuse for that. And to that I say no more. Enough is enough. And, the Republican Party hates me, but that's okay, because I'm going to be their worst. And they deserve it. That's not going to change that doesn't hurt my feelings. People need to be held accountable. And it's long past time that we have people that are willing to speak up and say, hey, I'm not I'm a Republican, but I'm not so infatuated with the Republican Party that I'm not willing to call you out on where you have failed us.
Very well said. And there's no doubt. I mean, when I worked on the Hill, the Republicans hated me too, but they didn't care about me because I'm just another white guy, and they couldn't care less. But a woman like yourself, impassioned, and dare I say, a very Phyllis Schlafly-like. And I can tell you a story about her off of the air that other folks can find in my book, Born Guilty, in the off the record meetings that we used to have, and a stance she took amongst a slew of power holders that you just would not believe. This brave woman stood up to them in this meeting, and it was a glorious moment. But loving your passion. You mentioned Christianity, but you also mentioned something about Trump and Trump's endorsements, which was very intriguing. But I don't want to step away from Christianity just yet, because I know that it's had a lot of influence on you and importance for you. So I would maybe we could do it like this. What is the first thought or the first word that comes to mind when I say Christianity?
It's grace. That's the word. That's what he is. I live under an abundance of grace given to me by him. I was actually on an interview prior to this, and I was telling them a little bit about my story. Like 4 years ago, I was selling drugs off a dirty mattress down in Tennessee. I didn't get here. I didn't become the most successful U.S. Senate candidate. I'm not running a powerful political pack. I didn't do this myself. It was grace. That's just the kind of grace that I'm living under. Jesus saved me. He did. And, I didn't do any of this on my own. I couldn't have done this, any of this on my own. So I guess where I've had an encounter with him, where he changed me, I made my bed in hell. He was there and he pulled me out of it. It's different. It's where I've experienced, where I came from, and how he got me here. Just my life is a miracle. I should be dead. So I'm very passionate. Who am I to not fight for him? Who am I not to have the boldness or to be too cowardly to stand up and fight for everything that he stands for? To fight for life, to fight for family. God loves families. He loves babies. And, why would I cower out and fight after everything he did for me? So, my Christianity also, is kind of the power punch behind the politics. And I think we need more of it. We were founded on Christian principles. We were founded by white Christian men who came to this country fleeing religious persecution. And we have given our country away, not only by third world migration, but also to degeneracy, progressivism, and it's dismantling our social fabric. And that's very evident. It's very evident. As we remove God from everything, the progressive left has slipped in. And what is the end result? I have to stay on topic, but we're seeing what the end result is every day. We're seeing it. And it's disgusting. And it's disgusting. Yeah. So that's what happens. You give your enemy an inch, he takes the whole thing. And, my Christianity drives my passion, but it's because I know God's with me. He didn't place me here. He didn't get me this far to leave me. He didn't give me this boldness. He didn't give me this spine. Everything I've lived through has equipped me for politics. There's nothing these politicians can throw at me that is any worse than anything I've walked through. It definitely has been an equipping process. It wasn't easy, but also, I think that's why they are so afraid. Like the GOP is so afraid because like, she doesn't care. She'll say anything. I know that they were relieved when I got kicked off Twitter because the main thing I did was go after them and call them out. Hey, did you know that Kristi Noem is about to vote on this and and do this? Yeah. And people are like, no, we love her. No, we have to call these people out. We have to be bold. Everybody should have this energy.
Gosh, I am so impressed right now. Have you heard? And I wanted to ask about Christianity because it really seems to be a real source of power for you to overcome these people, to overcome the fear of challenging them, because the fear keeps so many people silent. This, what they refer to as cancel culture, we don't refer to that in their verbiage. We rarely ever use their verbiage because it's made to empower them. Things are canceled when they're bad. The show is canceled when it's bad, so it is white erasure is what they're doing. They're pulling the statues down, white erasure. But I have seen the strength of Christianity in a good friend of mine, James Edwards. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's on the internet, but he's also on radio, and he has a radio show called The Political Cesspool. And he and his wife, Danny, they have 3 lovely children. They are Christians, Baptists. They have gone through, you would not even imagine. And they have done it all with a giant smile on their faces. It is unbelievable. Their church, their actual church, was kicked out of the national, congregation of Baptist churches because of James Edwards, because he dares to speak up for what he refers to as paleo-conservative thoughts. And so I will happily put you in touch with him. You all would kick it off really well. And I know his audience would love you too. But I do want to get back to this comment about, you kind of just like dropped it out there, and it was like a bomb though for us, at least for me. Trump's endorsements, how might they be compromised, and what can you share with us about those endorsements?
Right, yeah, so Donald Trump in 2016 had a great team. He was a powerhouse. His messaging was a powerhouse. People came out in droves to vote for him. But as the years went on, we watched as he surrounded his administration with people, with infiltrators, with subverters, people like Jared Kushner, who influenced policy on mass migration, people like Richard Grenell, who influenced policy on the LGBTQ agenda. There was different aspects of the presidency where he tried to run his administration like a business. He tried to have opposing ideas in his business, and you can't have that. You have to have a litmus test for loyalty, because these people, he wants to be desperately loved by an establishment that hates him. These people will never love him. They hate his voters for coming out and voting for him. He will never be able to negotiate with these people. So I don't know what's going on now, but he is getting worked by the establishment. He is getting influenced by the establishment to come out and endorse these candidates who once disavowed him. It makes no sense. I don't know if maybe they're holding a jail sentence over his head, be like, hey, listen, you're going to play our game, or we're going to make sure you get arrested for January 6th, or, or we're going to make sure you get impeached and your legacy dies. There's so many things that they could be holding over his head. However, he is being influenced and worked by the establishment. And I also don't know if maybe the establishment, that's the whole point, is having him endorse these bad candidates, make his voters lose trust in him, make us start questioning him. So by the time he runs in 2024, he's not even a legitimate candidate because he's just burned the whole thing to the ground and his legitimacy to the ground. So I think that could also be it. But either way, he's getting worked, and it must be stopped. The best thing they can do is let Trump be Trump, let him do his thing. Without the influence, people like him. We wanted him to take out the GOP.
Yes, people did. I mean, they were ready to allow him to do whatever he needed to do to achieve what we sent him to DC to do. And you're absolutely, you made a very interesting point about getting him, forcing him, whatever it might be behind the scenes, leveraging him to support candidates that burn his reputation with voters and then he just won't come back. And look at how easy it was. You made a point, and I'm going to come back to January 6th. You mentioned it. We refer to that as Patriots Day, when the Patriots lost their innocence about whether the Capitol was the people's house or whether it was the house of these special interests and the like. But when it comes to Trump, he went out of his way, and I don't know who was speaking with him during this election cycle, but he went out of his way to say that he was going to do X, Y, and Z for all of these different non-white groups of people, and including women, specifically excluding ever mentioning white males. The people who are, as you pointed out, skyrocketing on opioid use, skyrocketing on suicide, losing everything. We all know, I mean, it's an open secret. You're just not allowed to say the reality that wherever there is a diversity hire, there's a diversity fire. There's a white person that deserved a job that didn't even get it. A white person that deserved to be promoted or get the bonus that didn't get it because of their race. That's persecution. That's prosecution, and that is something that is demoralizing. And when he was just ignoring all of that, ignoring that reality, talking about more money, the taxpayers' dollars, and who is of course footing the majority of the tax bill, but the founding stock of this country. He was talking about doing more and more for these groups of people. He ended up losing enough of the white male support that it made a difference in his election results. What do you think was going on there? What do you think could have been going through his head, or who could have been advising him to make such disastrous decisions? Any ideas?
Yeah, so that was a Jared Kushner move. So okay. It got so bad that, you know, my sources tell me they got so bad that Trump couldn't even go to the bathroom without Jared following him, with the chance that he might run into Stephen Miller or one of his immigration hawks people. Like, he was trying to keep him you know, under his thumb, under his influence. You know, that's what I was told, you know, by really reliable people. You know, so he really did have a say, and it became the Kushner presidency. I didn't vote for a Kushner presidency. I voted for Donald Trump. I voted for a wall, Hillary for prison, you know, deportations of DACA recipients. You know, I voted for all that, but along the way, somehow he weaseled his way in, and, you know, he destroyed Trump's presidency. You know, he destroyed his legacy. You know, and, you know, he didn't destroy it. He didn't. You know, the Trump legacy is still there, but he influenced it and made it as ineffective as possible, as ineffective as he possibly could. You know, so I mean, he was dangerous, you know, but Trump loves his family. He loves his daughter. He values loyalty, and he was loyal. You know, Jared Kushner's openly a globalist liberal, you know, but he was family. And that was a mistake. And ordinary people got left behind. Could you imagine how many votes the Republican Party could gain if they just came up with solutions for the opioid epidemic? You know, yeah. Democrats whose child struck addiction. You know, this is something that's affecting everybody. It's not a political issue. It's actually a demographic issue. You know, so there are ways that he could have helped us that our elected officials still aren't talking about it. Republicans refuse to talk about it because it isn't affecting the minority groups. It's affecting the white working class. It is 90% of them. Yeah. So it is, they're not coming up with solutions. It's kind of just like, you're on your own because you're privileged. You know, it's sad, you know, and I remember the platform plan that came out. I actually, you know, I think it was a campaign strategy. I don't know. Maybe they saw that there was going to be some irregularities in the inner cities, so they were going to try and limit the vote as much as possible, and so give them free stuff. I don't know. I don't really know. I didn't support it. You know. Also, as far as affirmative action goes, I mean, if you want to see systemic racism, look at affirmative action. It sure is. You know, so the system certainly is rigged against us. We aren't pandered to, even though we are the base. You know, and I find the name of your show interesting because we have been conditioned into being guilty. You know, automatically they assume that we are racist or white supremacists simply because if I even say, hey, the opioid epidemic is affecting the white working class, they're like, that's racist. Like, no, this is a fact, you know? So you know, we have to be able to talk about issues that affect us. You know, the crack epidemic affected the Black inner cities. Is what it. I mean, it just did. It's just a fact.
Yep.
You know, the opioid epidemic is affecting the white working, but we're not allowed to talk about it. You know, so it's very interesting to me what's going on. You know, it's certainly an agenda. And I'm curious if we will qualify for affirmative action when we become a minority in our own country, because it's coming. You know, we're now down, you know, it's steadily decreasing the percentages because they're mass migrating the third world into our country, pushing wages down. Americans can't afford to have families, can't afford to have children, so we're not reproducing. We also abort 1 million babies a year, we bring in 1.1 million migrants a year from every country. Now we have open borders. With illegal immigration, it's 1.1 million legally, by the way, too. You know, so we are literally replacing the American people, and there's nowhere for us to go. You know, so we have to stand up and we have to fight for our country. We have to be unapologetic to fight for our families. You know, we have to be unapologetic when it comes to standing up for issues that matter to us. You know, they can't make us feel guilty for who we are. I'm a good person. You know, I love these people. I love America and I love my country. And I shouldn't have to apologize.
Nope.
Neither should you. And we should be able to talk about the issues that affect us.
Precisely. And I again, I'm really inspired by your passion and also your willingness to discuss these things that what we collectively refer to here in this entire community as all of these different groups, what they might call themselves, social justice warriors, liberals, or what have you. We collectively refer to them as anti-whites because everything they do is to arrive at some sort of conclusion that harms Western kind. So that's why very often it looks like what they're doing is hypocritical. Like, well, they care about the drug problem when it affects a non-white community. But then if you care about a drug problem when it affects a white community, well, then you can't talk about that, or you are. And then they use one of these anti-white slurs, like you pointed out, racist. You also asked, and so therefore we see that there really is, if you just acknowledge what they're really driving at, what seems like hypocrisy disappears. It makes perfect sense then. They are clearly driving at a victimization of all of our Western culture, our traditions, ourselves, our bodies, our history, everything is driving at victimizing that, eradicating, destroying, remaking. And you see these Republicans always just dance around, all these politicians. When I worked on the Hill, I was so disgusted, Lauren. You would be an absolutely amazing politician. I'm not kidding. You would be a stateswoman because when I worked on the Hill, we had these people. Jeff Sessions, for example, out of everybody that would come to these sessions, he was the one guy that I thought, and these real quickly, folks, for those who don't know, or Lauren's fans who are brand new, I worked on the Hill during Bush Jr. first term, and in the center for the conservative, the nerve center for the conservative movement for the country. Every Wednesday, we had this off-the-record meeting. Senate members, House members, White House staff, Republican Party leaders and strategists showed up. All of the leaders of the biggest conservative organizations in the United States showed up. And it was this big room. I could talk about it some other time because we have Lauren with us. I'm not going to waste any time. But they would all show up and everybody was pathetic. They were apathetic. They were feckless. They were gelded. They were just horrible in every imaginable way. They were happy to take your money. They were happy to give you lip service. They were happy to promise you that, well, I'll do what I can. But ultimately, what I discovered tangibly was what I feared going in, that I had observed from the outside, was that what mattered to them was what the real money holders and the people who controlled the media cared about. That's what they really cared about. Those are the folks that they really wanted to serve, because those were the ones who ultimately they could make their donations dry up. They could make donations for their opposition suddenly appear. They could question whether or not they did X, Y, or Z in their youth and in their media one day. And then that would be the end of the politician. You know, did he ever X, Y, Z? And then that would be it. Just the question would cancel out enough votes for them. But Jeff Sessions, I thought, of all the people I talked to, of all the people I listened to at these gatherings, I thought he's the one genuine guy. But then he gets into installed by Trump. And then he ended up being feckless as well. There is nobody there that is an actual statesman. They are all cowards. And that's why I became jaded and left and began working on culture. Before, very quickly, I just want to say, I'll throw it back to you because I know you got some thoughts on what I just said. Could you imagine? This would be like, folks, if you could see Lauren, if she were a senator or a House member and she would be in meetings with these folks, it would be like I witnessed with Phyllis Schlafly off the record, and it was amazing. But I do want to say, and I want to pass this along to you so you can use it. I want you to be as powerful as possible with the words you use, with how you contend with these people, because we are always the good guys. We are, and you are always the good guy. And I want you to always easily triumph over them in conversation. But more importantly, I want you to bring over millions and millions of folks of all immutable characteristics to the good work that's being done that you want to do, and to the reclamation of our destiny, and to the saving of this country. You mentioned one thing, and this is just a way I can start off. You mentioned about what will happen when we're a minority. We have something that's called a meme curative. These are ideas, these are phrases that we use when we're in conversation, when we're trying to help people out. We also use them to defeat the opposition. But the meme curative that I wanted to share with you is, when we become a minority, minority rights become a thing of the past. It is a very powerful, all of the things, by the way, that we use, just so you know, these are not just like taken and we just, hey, this sounds pretty good. We use reason, logic, and evidence, reason and logic first, and then we subject them to the evidence of the scientific method over time. So the Aristotelian and Baconian model of the scientific method, when they end up working, we stick with them. When they don't, we discard them. That's one of the really powerful ones. And we have a whole book of them that I will give you a copy to as soon as we're done. Did I send you a copy? I will give you a copy as soon as we're done, because I want you are a powerhouse, you're bright, and if you get equipped with this, it's going to be like you have a metaphorical, I'm not going to say a sword on fire, but a bouquet of flaming roses when you go into these contests with these awful people who have been ruining our lives. Now, I want to get to like the importance of family, for example, because that and parental rights, this is a huge thing that you're all about. But before we get there, and it looks like we're just at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States of America, I want to just jump back very briefly to January 6th, Patriots Day. And you have suffered some consequences. And this is important because people need to see that these anti-whites, they mean business. They really mean to take everything away from us. And here's this woman who is putting herself out there, her face out there, her energy out there, her passion out there, making a difference. Whatever your thoughts are on January 6th, what ended up happening to you? How has this made your life difficult that you would like to share? And then we can move on to some of these other issues.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, they absolutely do mean business. They're trying to make examples out of any person who had the audacity to support President Trump. I attended January 6th. I was outside. I did not go in the Capitol building. I was there to participate in my First Amendment right to peaceful protest. So I have never had a problem flying ever. Recently, a couple weeks ago, I tried to fly. Not only, so they had to make a phone call. They wouldn't let me check in at the desk. So I'm like, okay, great. So I go up to the front. They are on the phone, and then all of a sudden, security starts surrounding me, and I was like,
oh my God.
So I have to get this. I had to get personally escorted by security to a private room to be searched, to be swabbed. They swabbed my hands for electronics. They took my laptop. They took my phone, and then they went through, I guess, everything, searched through, shredded through everything, finally returned my stuff back to me, and then let me board the plane. But it wasn't just that. It was at my connecting flight. The same thing happened. I got searched again. Like, I mean, you never get checked on your connecting flight. There was security there waiting for me. And then again, when I flew home, like it was the same instance. They had the bomb squad, the Department of Homeland Security checking my laptop, like I'm some kind of terrorist. And you know what's awful? Those people that did enter the Capitol, they got charged with trespassing. And they keep pushing the court dates back. and not giving them bail. So these people are locked in solitary confinement for a trespassing charge and can't get out. And nobody's fighting for them because they're so afraid of the media calling them bad names for defending insurrectionists. No, these people, a lot of these people were let in, you know, and they can't charge them with anything but trespassing, and they're not giving them bail. This is criminal. They are politically persecuting conservatives who supported President Trump. You know, if this was BLM or Antifa that did it, you know, they charged the Hart Building during the Kavanaugh hearings, and nothing happened to them. Nothing. But because we have the audacity to support our president, support the wrong guy and show up to the wrong protest, they are stripping us of our rights. And, you know, the Constitution was made for a moral society. We no longer live in a moral society. No. We live in a degenerate society that is rigged against us, that hates us, that wants us dead, that is willing to exterminate us, throw you in jail, and just let you rot. You know, and we have a cowardly Republican Party that operates as controlled opposition, is what they are. They have not said one word about these poor people who can't even get bail. You know, they're overcharging people, and it's absolutely criminal. You know, what I had to like suffer through is just minimal. Like, I'm on the domestic terrorist list. They put me on the domestic terrorist list just for showing up. You know, just being there, just standing there. You know, and it's terrifying. How have we as a society allowed it to get this far, where they are politically persecuting people and nobody's fighting for us? Nobody cares. You know, because we just get disavowed. You know, they just disavow us like we're nothing. You know, these poor people. You know, who is going to fight for us? You know, we have to get fighters. We have to get fighters. We have to replace them. You know, that's the only option we have, because we certainly witnessed they spent more time disavowing, groveling, and pandering, while their voters, their supporters, their donors got thrown in prison and stuck in solitary confinement for months on end, getting an example made of them. You know, I'm just disgusted. I'm disgusted with my party. I'm disgusted with these people. I'm disgusted with my elected officials. And, you know, I'm disgusted with the way our country is going, because we have no constitutional rights. We as conservatives are a persecuted people in our own country, and there's nowhere for us to go. So what are we supposed to do?
Beautifully said. I mean, that's fantastic. What are we supposed to do? I want to quickly say, and I don't know if anybody has said anything like this yet. We have the moderators who are on the qui vive for any troublemakers. But in the spheres outside, we do have a comment, by the way, from, and then I want to jump right over. Actually, I think I would like to jump to, as we have, I think, 15 minutes, just under 15 minutes left, the homeschooling issue, because that's becoming a bigger issue. And then maybe one more, but I do want to, K-Max McDonald has financially gifted $3, and we have a slew of folks, wonderful questions, and we'll get all of these to Lauren, and perhaps she'll answer some of them in her on her social media or elsewhere. Perhaps she'll come back and we'll do a lot of the audience questions if we can get her to return. But K-Max is asking essentially about, do you feel more comfortable in an environment like this than you do with conservative ink? And that he says that you can see that the youth and energy is in places like this rather than in this superannuated, senescent conservative ink in the conservative incorporated establishment.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, these are my people. You know, I'm just an ordinary person. So, of course, I feel more comfortable with ordinary people, you know, and especially, I mean, it's a hostile environment for me to go into conning. You know, I have to fight to get a slot on OAN to talk about election reform, to talk about an election integrity bill I'm trying to push in Georgia. They won't even have me on because they said I don't have tact. Could you imagine if they told Donald Trump that? You know, so I'm like, I'm going anywhere where I'm free to be able to speak and share. You know, I have to refine my tact. Like, literally, they're stealing our country, killing people, murdering Trump supporters, locking them in solitary confinement. And you're worried because I don't have tact? Like, it's just wild. It's out of control. Like, they're absolute gatekeepers. They're cowards and they're frauds. So yes, I feel like I'm more comfortable because I'm with my people. You know, and I love you guys, you know, and you guys support me. You guys are I just love them, you know. And of course, I'm not of that world. I'm not of the conservative.
No,
Nobody
you're
can.
definitely not.
I'm not funded by anybody, you know, except for ordinary people, you know, that support my PAC. You know, I don't have a lot of money, you know, but you know, I don't have to sell out my values. You know, I could be a millionaire. I could be a well-funded
Oh
beauty
yeah.
queen for TPUSA talking about, you know,
Yeah.
diversity and H-1Bs and stapling green cards to diplomas. But no, I chose the hard way. So yeah, I certainly feel more at home on YouTube channels like this with friendly people as opposed to the hostile people that hate me because they
Well,
don't want to be called out.
yeah, precisely. And I absolutely 100% underscore that if you wanted to be one of their sellouts, they would happily pay you big money. You would be in a giant mansion somewhere, whatever vehicle you wanted, all of the airtime you wanted. So, yeah, that is clearly something that is extended to you, and you're not taking it. So, that I want to mention because it's the segue from the point that I was going to make. Actually, let me quickly say that I just saw this. Rory Herbert in the live chat says, Lauren is an angel. Why didn't she just fly with her wings? I guess maybe went on the 6th. But thank you, Rory. But I mean, I want to point out that underscoring that I know for certain that they would pay you, they would use you for their benefit, for their enrichment, to keep their system in place. But I do want to speak, segueing from the thought that I wanted to make a moment ago, or segueing back to the thought I wanted to make a moment ago, to this, that there are groups of people, there are groups, a lot of groups of guys, regrettably, and we are winning many of them over to here to Going Free, Service to White Well-Being, winning them away from these different groups where they hate women. It's a lot of white guys because the world is awful for them. And every woman who speaks about what's going on in the world, they immediately declare that she's just this dilettante. And there have been, and to their, you know, to the credit of these guys, or to, I guess, a way to apologize for them, is there have been a lot of women who have popped up and out of nowhere, and they will repeat some patriotic slogans, or they'll repeat this or that. And then because they are a woman, because they are maybe attractive, or maybe they are just scantily clad, or whatever it is, they end up getting an audience. And then the next thing we would know, we would see them, like they would be in like Milan and talking about the weather in Milan that day, and on brand new clothing, and looking fabulous. I can tell a difference between what you're saying and at this very moment, who you are in this very moment. What you're saying, your passion, your energy, what clearly is your dedication, is diametrically different from what I have seen with dilettantes who show up. They don't have the passion. They don't have all of the arguments for the different cases, the different positions, the different names. They are very superficial. It is just a veneer of patriotism or nationalism or what have you. And so I want to say, and then I want to get your thought, and then quickly, we're like at 9.5 minutes, that Lauren Witzke, absolutely does not strike me in this conversation at this moment, ladies and gentlemen, as anything fraudulent about her. And I know, Lauren, I will tell you this, even though in other communities, the thought of having a woman in an elected office, they absolutely reject. They're just children. They're just little boys. And maybe they still have to go through puberty. Many of them, I don't know. But here we would absolutely be delighted with you in holding office and doing what you're doing here, but on the national stage. Any brief thoughts to these folks who would question whether or not you are sincere in your ideas, positions, and your drive to do what's best for our people, this country?
Right. Well, I mean, I shouldn't have to run for office. I should be in a kitchen making babies somewhere, but actually it's you guys that failed us. You know, it's these white men in elected office who sign away our borders, sign away our jobs, and sell us out to the highest donor. You know, this isn't ideal. This isn't, you know, I should be living the simple life. And I agree, it should be a man doing this. I absolutely agree. It should be a man. However, you know, I don't want to raise children in a world where, okay, now I can't go off on the things. I don't want to live like the direction that the country is going. I don't want to raise kids like that. So I'm trying to fix it, and then I'll do it. But if somebody else would be willing to step up, who can get a platform, who knows how to raise money, I want to raise up my replacement. So it's not like I want to do this to hog the spotlight. I want to raise up 100 people just like me who are equally as effective, and that is possible. This is only temporary for me. Because after I get what I want, which is election integrity, a restored GOP, and an army of young conservatives who are willing to stand up and fight. They don't have to be young, any age. Just true American conservatives. I want to live a normal life, and I will. So I mean, he's not wrong. It's not ideal that I'm a woman, but it just happens to be that it wasn't you. So I mean, I don't know what to say.
No. Listen. No, listen, whatever you do, don't apologize to these folks. You are doing a magnificent job. We are very proud of you. We are mature here, and we're not little prepubescent boys of whatever age that a lot of these guys are, of all ages. I guess they're prepubescent boys, and just upset, disgruntled, whatever it might be. And they're going to be they're just going to be snarky and grumpy over the fact that somebody out there who happens to be a woman is doing a magnificent job. Folks, there are going to be women like that. There are going to be women that are going to get into the public spotlight because they've had enough, like Phyllis Schlafly, and they're going to do a magnificent job. And are you going to want one of them in there? Or are you going to want another one of these gelded men out there? Or how about 4-foot-tall guys that just snark all day long and don't do anything productive in the world other than raise snarky little brats of boys up to do this exact same behavior? No, we want this. Please don't apologize. I want to quickly say to the point about, because I don't want to gloss over it, it's very important. Your ability to move through society has been severely restricted. Privacy, one of our MCs, Lauren, is privacy is not only for criminals. And so your ability to be able to go from one place to the next has been severely undermined, crippled, made difficult by these anti-white monsters swabbing your hands for explosives. Good Lord, that is ridiculous. They would, yeah. I'm not going to go off. It's a show where children can watch too. I could go, we're going to have other kinds of shows where I can be a little bit more articulate, maybe on some other platforms as well, but say a little bit more. But folks, do not let that just pass by. Take a look at this woman. Take a look at, listen to the things that she has said, and then realize that they are trying to punish her, or they are punishing her. They're victimizing her, rather, because of her effectiveness for our people, because she cares and she's brave enough. Like so many guys are, regrettably, and ladies are not brave enough these days to say the truth, to speak the truth to the people who actually hold the power in this entire system across the West, which are people who are anti-white. It doesn't matter how white they are. If they're anti-white, that's what we object to. And they're all, if it's a Republican Party, it's a bunch of stodgy, stolid, anti-white, where they're just wizened, like all of their juices are gone. They are old, they're tired, and they need to be dislodged. And this is the kind of youthful energy that we need to be able to dislodge them. Looks like we are down to just 4.5 minutes. So I've got to ask, we'll have to have you back for wonderful subjects, like important subjects, folks, that Lauren talks about regularly. Parental rights, okay? The family, the importance of the family, the criminalization, the attempts to criminalize, and the criminalization of homeschooling by these victimizers of Western kind, Western civilization. Why do they want to take your children out of your home so that you can't teach them your values, your norms, your education, your ethics? And just the subject of homeschooling in general, I think, is a really interesting one. Has it become necessary now to homeschool, given that everywhere you go across the West, the education is vehemently anti-white? Lauren, I can tell you, I have people here everywhere from like the poorest public school, which, by the way, is not in the inner cities, folks. It's out in the countryside is where you find the poorest public schools. In the cities, they have tons of money. They just have other problems. But in the country, they have no money. I've got those parents writing to me with their curriculum of their kids, and then parents from very expensive Catholic private schools, and the curricula that they have in those institutions, just as anti-American, as anti-white as you can conceive. It is unbelievable. Has it become time that everybody's going to have to homeschool unless we're going to rear a generation of people who, I guess, white Americans for sure, and non-white Americans as well, who just want to destroy this country by any means possible. But before we let you go, in the final 2.5 minutes, I've got to ask about this gab that you gabbed yesterday to Alyssa Milano. I think she's some sort of like C grade actress. Is that what she is? And she said something about white people getting together and needing to beat down this anti-white slur, white supremacy. And then you wrote back to her by, quote, eradicating white supremacy, Alyssa Milano, actually means eradicate white people from the face of the earth. That was brilliant. And you're going to continue to go places with that kind of language. Please speak to that for the last couple moments that we have you before we get your final thoughts and your platforms where people can find you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's no secret that every institution is inherently anti-white. You know, it's in the school system, it's in the media, it's in the propaganda, it's in the movies. Everything is telling you that you have to feel guilty for being white. And actually, that is exactly what she meant. She said it's up white people. It's up to us to eradicate white supremacy. No, she's telling him to kill himself. Basically, what she's saying. You know, she's a crazy sociopath who aborts her own babies and brags about it. You know, disgusting. But I wanted to talk about the school issue because this is very important. You know, the government has done, the whole agenda has done is made it as difficult as possible for families to survive on a single family income. That was always the point. They got the moms out of the home. They got the moms as corporate slaves. And then the kids are forced to go to public school where they indoctrinate them. Now that people are like starting to realize how bad the indoctrination is, people are starting to bring their kids home, trying to homeschool them, which is almost impossible because it's so impossible to survive in America on a single family income. You know, when I ran for office, my whole goal was to make it as easy as possible to homeschool your kids and live off a single family income, get dads back in the home, etc. You know, so you restore the American nuclear family, restore their wages, and make it easier for people. What the government is trying to do is they're trying to make it so parents have to get licenses in order or pass a certain amount of tests in order to homeschool their children. They're going to make it as difficult as possible for you to homeschool their children because they want to indoctrinate them in the public school system. They want that to be your only option, you know, and that's terrifying because we see what they are teaching and it is dangerous. And it teaches white children to hate themselves and it teaches Black children to hate white children, you know, and they're getting beat up in school, you know, and it's awful. They're getting targeted and beat up, you know, because they're instilling that friction within the curriculum, you know, so trying to homeschool. Yes, the good news is the Republican Party has a very strong, well, not the Republican Party, you know, you would think it would be a Republican issue, but Democrats, it's the homeschool lobby. It's the most powerful lobby, but the LGBTQ lobby is starting to creep up in power over them, you know, and they are somebody who will not fight for family issues. You know, they will make it about more progressive issues. They only fight for more progressive issues. However, that lobby is infiltrated the Republican Party. Whereas the majority of homeschoolers vote Republican, they're going to try and push it left. And, you know, the homeschool lobby, when they become more powerful than the homeschool lobby, that's when we need to start to worry. You know, they did a good job shutting down the licenses for parents, but it will come back again. Their goal is to illegalize homeschooling. That's what it is. And force your kids to go to public school. You know, so we have to fight this and be aware of this. You know, I'm warning you now. This isn't a crazy conspiracy theory. You know, this is something that's very real, and it could be a reality in a couple of years that you won't even legally be able to homeschool your child. So, you know, especially with the Biden administration moving so radically. So be wary of that. Keep an eye on that as well, you know, and hold your elected officials accountable. You know, make their lives miserable, make them feel political pain until they do what you want and settle for nothing less. No compromises. If a bill comes up like that, tell them to kill it. We don't want them to revise it or rewrite it or send it back to be written. No, kill it, throw it in the dumpster and light it on fire. These bills cannot pass or see the light of day.
Amen to that. Amen to that. What's that?
The homeschool rant over.
Homeschool right there. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And God, how wonderful. I am invigorated, and it is splendid to have been able to speak with you today. Thank you so much for coming on. We have people just writing the most glowing things about you in the live chat, and I imagine there'll be a great many more in the thread after, once the video is up, and on the clips that will be made of your time here. You have performed magnificently, and I think you're on the right path here with working on election integrity. Folks, you can support Lauren on a number of platforms that have been shared over the course of the stream. She will be mentioning them again in just a minute, and please do so. We would very much like to see you back here for another discussion at some point in the near future, and we can get to some more of these issues that are so very important to our people, not only in the United States, but around the world. I mean, we saw the influence of Donald Trump to the entirety of the Western world, and how people saw in him something that buoyed their spirits, and a resistance to anti-whiteism began to stir all around planet Earth. And we have here, Lauren, folks from all around the globe. Every time we speak here, we have participants going free in every single Western country. We have leaflets distributed in every single Western country about what's happening here, even in places where you think that no leaflets would ever be distributed for the kind of stuff that we talk about in extremely rich areas around the world as well. So hopefully that'll pan out one of these days. But you and I should talk because you have opportunity, you have passion, and there are things that you will be able to do or can do that so many others could never achieve, no matter how articulate they became, how many connections they had. So I would definitely like to do my best to help empower you on your journey, on your mission to do good things. And as we say, love, hope, and redemption. Yes. Your final thoughts and where folks can find you and moving forward, and then we will let you go. And thank you again for so much for coming on and spending this hour with us on Going Free.
Yeah, for sure. You can find me. Okay, support what I'm doing. I will fight for you. I will not misspend your money. I will be a good steward of your money. I'm not like the GOP and Romney McDaniel. I'm going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to fight for you. Right now, I'm going to get election integrity nationwide. I'm going to go to the swing states, and I'm going to ban vote by mail. I'm going to ban the ballot drop boxes. I'm going to require voter ID. Civilized societies have voter integrity, election integrity. Without free and fair elections, our country will cease to exist. So please support me at www.holdthelinepack.com. Also, give me a follow on Gab at Lauren Witzke DE. Gab is great, isn't it? Like, he's so awesome. He automatically, as soon as I got banned on Twitter, he reactivated his Twitter and let everybody know where they could find me. Andrew Toole was a real champion for free speech and for our people. He's for us. He fights. So please, support holdthelinepack.com or, and find me on Gab, please.
Splendid. Well, sister, I thank you so much for coming on. And please, I'm going to go ahead and ask right now, will you come back again for another discussion in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. You have no idea how much I appreciate No White Guilt giving me the opportunity to give me a voice and not telling me I had to refine my tact. Not bitter or anything, but no, I appreciate it. No, I appreciate it. And anytime I would be glad to. Thank you. And I'm very grateful.
Oh, well, we are the ones who are honored and grateful. Thank you so very much for coming on. And let me tell you, when it comes to tact, what they consider tact is what all good and honorable people consider tactless. So please continue with your tactfulness and your effectiveness, and we will have you again here as soon as you will allow us. Everyone, Lauren Witzke, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.